before we get things going. But as you can see, a big improvement already over my last stream with Mint Blitz because he wasn't able to do mobile. I had to use my phone to record my camera or my laptop screen. So it was a bit messy. But as you can see, YouTube mobile allows you to do this nice little split screen. I'm on the one side, and I have a special guest on the other side, and their name is, as you probably know, HiddenXperia. I hope I pronounced that right. I never actually confirmed that with you, but
Yep, pretty
uh,
bang on.
all right. So, yeah, thanks for joining, man. I really appreciate it. Today's discussion is going to be all about Halo 7's campaign, predictions, our hopes. And we're going to start things off to just thank you guys for joining with a little exclusive info regarding Halo's Infinite's campaign, something that was cut. It's going to lead into the next question I have for Hidden Xperia here, and we'll get things going. But first, I want you, Hidden Xperia, to tell me a little about yourself, just in case people don't know, and what you've been up to in regards to content.
So yeah, if you don't know already, then I make mostly lore videos, but kind of just like Halo videos in general. I don't like to put myself in one specific box. I like to just be like a broad Halo YouTuber, but lore is probably my speciality. What I've been up to, just the usual, just grinding content. Probably a little bit more than I should be doing, given how little is going on with Halo right now. But I like to keep busy. I enjoy what I do, so I don't really want to not do it. Like when I have a day off, I'm like, I feel like I should be making a video because I enjoy it so much. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. Biding time until the Xbox Game Showcase and whatever the hell comes after that. Which I mean, fingers crossed, right? But I'm not hoping. I'm not expecting much. I'm hoping for a lot, and I'm not expecting much.
Exactly. And I do want to do a quick little discussion at the end of this about the showcase, just what you're thinking, and I'll share what I'm thinking as well. We'll get into that. But yeah, again, thanks for joining. And uh, I am someone who plays Halo because I just love the social multiplayer aspect to it. And I beat all the campaigns, but I'm unlike you, I never really dove real into the story. I just never have with video games. Although I try to follow as much as I can, read up as much as I can. But what I'm getting at is your videos are great learning tools for learning about just not the general story, but the background to the stories within all the Halo games. And that's why I have you here today. Because today's discussion is going to be, like I said, about Halo 7 campaign, and again, no one better else, I think, than you to discuss the campaign, just in general. And so, yeah, thank you again. So, we're going to get right into this little piece of exclusive info that I learned the other day regarding Halo Infinite's campaign, and then we're going to get into the next question. So, basically, we know already that a lot was cut from the campaign, especially the ideas they had. Now, Joseph Staten did say, like, they didn't cut like the content that they actually made. They didn't cut a whole lot, he claims, but the ideas. They had a bunch of ideas with the biomes and stuff that was definitely cut. Anyway, at one of these things that was cut that actually made it a little bit into the development stage was, excuse me, factions similar to Far Cry. So basically, um, in Far Cry, there are factions around the map. These factions control each area of the map that they're a part of or that they control. And these factions, or at least what was supposed to be in Halo Infinite, were controlled by brute warlords. And within these factions, there was like a stronghold area with support bases, and basically you had to go destroy those support bases to get to the strongholds to defeat the warlord. And there's also like different random events, world events going on depending on what faction area you're in, and so on. So, real quick before I get into the next question, what's your view on that information? Do you think that would have been something cool, etc.?
Yeah, no, I think that would have been pretty cool. I had no idea about that, honestly. That sounds to me like what we ended up getting with the high value targets for like mini bosses around the map. That feels like that was probably like a diluted version, or rather the remnants of that factions thing. I can kind of see that now with like each FOB being like one kind of sub faction within the Banished FOB that when you take over, you've like dominated that faction, so to speak, and then you move on to the next one, you dominate that faction. I feel like what we got at the end was kind of like the what working elements they had of that system just like integrated kind of bare bones as opposed to being integrated together. And in hindsight, I genuinely had no idea about that. And now you said that in hindsight, I can actually kind of see it in game. Like there's certain areas of the map that feel like they're kind of themed in one way, whereas another part of the map isn't themed that way. And I reckon that's probably something to do with factions. Honestly, that's very interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, so exactly what you said. With those mini bosses, they're all scattered around the map, and simply, because they had to cut things back, you just go find them, and they're in one little area. Go defeat them. End of story. But yeah, with the factions, there would have been, the environment would have been a little different depending on the faction. What happens in those regions would have been a little different with the events. How you could defeat the bosses, what you had to do, etc., would have been all different. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. So I think again, like you said, that would have been really cool to experience. And the reason I'm bringing that up, not just to give you some little inside info, but the next question is about uh, your views with the type of campaign they should do with Halo 7, if it should be similar to Halo Infinite, if they should include things like that, like factions, etc. If you do believe they should go like with the open world route. But to give you the question, it seems like 343 is making significant changes for Halo 7 to start a new exciting era for Halo. That was stated by the studio art director, in case you missed my previous videos. So, with this in mind, with that statement in mind, do you think Halo 7's campaign will be similar or completely different than Halo Infinite's? And then I'll have a follow up question for you.
I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot more in line with classic Halo campaigns in terms of like the linearity, rather than Infinite's complete like full open world design. I I guess this is like a hope and an expectation. I think they're going to cut it somewhere in the middle, kind of like how Halo One did, where you have the game is laid out in very distinguished linear levels, but some of those levels happen to be open world, like Halo and Silent Cartographer, for example. I think and also hope they go that way because like I still do genuinely enjoy Infinite's open world. There's elements of that game's campaign that scratch an itch that no other Halo game, like even Halo One's openness, really scratch. Maybe that's because I've played Halo One like 3,000 times at this point. Maybe that's why. But there's certain itches that game scratches that no other Halo scratches. Then simultaneously, there's also a ton of itches that like Halo One, Two, and Three and ODST scratch that Halo Infinite definitely doesn't. And I think there's merit to both of them. And I think the best way forward lies somewhere in the middle. There's definitely merit to the open world design, and there's definitely reason enough to bring it back in certain areas. I just kind of don't want the whole game to be that because Infinite. When I don't know if you saw, but recently I did a video where I basically like kind of re-reviewed Infinite's campaign, like almost 3 years on,
Mhm.
and the lack of linearity and the lack of like themed areas really stood out to me on this replay more than it did initially at launch, like a ton more. Probably because I played the classic Halo campaign is a ton since launch, but the lack of like unique themed levels and like environments for linear levels, the Infinite is kind of just like banner ship, foreigner, 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 foreigner. That's like it. It's like there's no variation. So I kind of hope they do both, honestly. As for expectations, I kind of expect them to do both. To be quite honest, I think they will. I think they will retain some of the open world aspects of Infinite, but I don't think the game will end up being anywhere near as open world as Infinite is. Partly because of feedback, but also partly just because of the amount of development that takes compared to like a linear level by level by level campaign. As we saw with Infinite, I mean, game took 6 years to make, and the campaign was still missing like what was it, 60% of content or something like that that it was meant to have at some
Mhm.
point. So I think from both a feedback and also from like a pragmatic point of view, they will go back to linearity for the most point. But I think some of the openness will still be there.
Yeah, I agree with going back to the more linear route, especially because just yeah, like you said, seeing how much they had to cut, I think they learned a lesson there. If they had more support, maybe a much bigger studio, maybe etc., they could pull it off. But I don't think they have the time and the resources for it. They're losing some employees. A lot of those job positions are to refill those positions rather than offering new positions. So you have to keep that in mind. So I think, yeah, I think they will go in a more linear route if I had to guess as well. And to real quick before I get to the follow-up question. I'm just going to read a comment here. First of all, hello to Visor, Sam, and Chris Kicks, and Banana. And then Sam said the no biodiversity, and that was a big thing, with the campaign, with Infinite's campaign. That's why everything seems so similar all over the place, because they were hoping for, excuse me, a lot of different diversity through the biomes, but it just turned out to be one type of biome, unfortunately. So hopefully, yeah, we can see a lot more exciting levels, areas, etc. with the next campaign. And now for the follow-up question, what type of campaign do you want 343 to make? Maybe you already kind of answered this saying, with the linear route, but what type of campaign do you want 343 to make for Halo 7?
In terms of like the build style of it, definitely a midway point between a typical level-based linear campaign and an open world campaign. Like I said earlier, there's elements of Infinite's open world that I don't want to lose because they strike a chord with me that no other campaign does. Like just the freedom to wander around a Halo ring is still just it hits me in a way that no other campaign does. But at the same time, like the kind of uniquely styled and curated encounters and design segments of linear levels just aren't present in Infinite at all. I mean, the game, I can't believe we've not had a Scarab for how many years? 15 years now, a decade and a half since our last FPS Scarab fight. It's insane. And like, I think maybe this is, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I would say that with an open world, it would be a lot harder to do something like a Scarab fight or like a big major set piece, because the whole point of an open world game is that it's meant to give the player far more freedom than a linear game. And when you've got that freedom, designing something as big and as clunky as a Scarab fight is so hard, because you've got to design this massive mech to be able to walk over mountains and stuff. Whereas when you've got like a linear game, you script where it goes. Like you think of the encounter on the Ark, for example, with the Scarab, where you see it climb over the Citadel or over the cartographer, then back down. Like that looks insanely cool, but that was only possible because it was specifically scripted by Bungie to do that at a specific point. Whereas if it was Infinite's campaign, it, because of the inherent freedom with an open world game, 343 could not have scripted it to do that at a specific point. Maybe the player wouldn't have been there, or they would have missed it, or they would have been fighting something else, so they wouldn't have seen it. Like it would be. It's just so much harder to create curated encounters in a game, in a style of game that's inherently designed to give the player more freedom to approach encounters and approach levels however they want. So I hope that we go back to linearity purely so we can get set pieces like specifically Scarab back. Honestly, one of the main reasons I want linearity back is so we can get Scarab back, because the Scarab fight in Halo 3 to me still has not aged a second. That is still the most fun, almost large scale engagement, I'd say, in any Halo game to this day. Like the amount of ways that you can take them down, like on a mongoose and a scorpion, you can grav lift onto them, you can grenade launcher onto them, you can rocket the legs, you can jump into the back, you can shoot off the little doors in the side. It's honestly insane. Like to this day, I'm still killing scarabs in new ways, and there's nothing in Infinite that facilitates that kind of gameplay. And I don't think the game will have the legs long term that a game like Halo 3 did, for example, because of that. Because like player freedom on paper sounds amazing, but in practice, it's really not, because we play games to experience the talents of game developers creating things in a certain way, using skills that they have and that we don't. And although there is obviously merit to an open world, when you take away a lot of their ability to do that, games don't feel as unique and they don't stand out as much as, say, like I said, a game like Halo 3, where you've got these incredible encounters, like these insane encounters where a mech is climbing over a wall and jumping on you, right? Like there's so much more you can do with it, despite the lack of player freedom.
Right. And yeah, Halo 3 does remain my favorite campaign to this day. Um, and just because of those experiences with the Scarab, all those levels were iconic in my opinion. But yeah, going back to what you said with Halo Infinite's campaign, because we are stuck in a linear campaign and so attached to Master Chief, stuck in a linear campaign for so long, finally being able to experience an open world environment was like, holy shit, this is so cool. Despite it missing everything for like
Yeah,
60% of
right.
stuff, it was so fun to just walk around, zip line around, grapple hook around, whatever. It's so fun. And did you do you remember that tweet from Halo's account before Infinite release with the Scarab artwork with Master
Oh my
Chief?
god. I
And
literally
yeah,
looked at that like 2 days ago. I was like, oh no, we
yeah,
should not have tweeted that.
yeah, no, that was a big mistake. But yeah, but that exactly like you, me, it got everyone hyped because people want that stuff. So hopefully we see it. And going back to the grapple hook, someone commented. I think it was No, sorry, Chris Kicks. He says, "Do we want the grapple hook in this next game, or should it stay in the past?"
Oh, it's a tough one because like on the one hand, it's insanely fun, and I feel like the raw funness, for lack of a better word, of the game would probably drop not having it. However, I think the grapple, I think it should be there, but just completely redesigned. I think the grapple as it is right now is fundamentally broken, especially even more so for campaign. I think in multiplayer it's fine; it works perfectly in multiplayer. But having infinite charges in campaign and having it on you at all times, it is absolutely something that should not continue forward because vehicles are nigh on redundant in Infinite's campaign, especially stuff like mongooses and warhogs. Like whenever I play Infinite's campaign, I barely touch a vehicle because I can just grapple slide everywhere. Or if I'm in a vehicle and I have to go over a slight bit of terrain, why would I bother maneuvering a vehicle when I can just press LB and go over it straight away? You know, like it's insanely fun. And like they've kind of got themselves in a catch-22 type of scenario because they've created this mechanic that is like beloved and insanely fun, but I'm now starting to see more and more people coming to the conclusion that there are deep rooted problems with the grapple that like I absolutely think it should be there. I think it should be there as a Halo 3 style equipment as it is in multiplayer. And I think it should have finite uses that should require scavenging so that you actually think about using it. So it's not just like grapple,
Mm,
jump, slide,
mm.
grapple, jump, slide. Like there needs to be a degree of like thought going into it because in Infinite there is no thought using the grapple. You spam LB and that's it. You spam grapple and that is it. I was really hoping at some point in Infinite there was going to be a level where I don't know something happened where you fought a boss and in the cutscene like the boss smashed the grapple hook or something on your hand. It didn't work anymore. Like when I was first playing the game, I was thinking to myself like this is really fun, but I kind of wish the game would take it away from me because it's way too easy to get through the levels, even in the linear levels as well. Like oh my god, some of the linear levels where it's just like a corridor after a corridor, you just grapple slide through the whole thing. Like there's nothing stopping you. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, people can say like, well, just don't grapple slide, but the game has given me this mechanic. I'm not gonna just not use it. Like the game has given me that mechanic for a reason. I think it should be there. It should just be severely nerfed. It should just be like it is in multiplayer. They nailed it in multiplayer. Multiplayer is the perfect iteration of the grapple. I would just have it like that in campaign.
Yeah, so the grapple hook, perfect for multiplayer. Totally agree. You bring up some great points with the campaign. I just think about how I'm always about to fall off and die at the bottom of the map, and then I just keep grappling, 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 like Spider Man, you know. And then
Yeah.
it takes away from the vehicle use. So I'm totally with you there, and especially with the finite uses, that would solve a lot of problems. Make things feel a little bit more realistic. Bring back the vehicle use and stop you from just spamming it or whatever. So
On
totally
that
agree.
on that note as well, I
Yeah.
really when I did that replay of this campaign recently for the video, I really started to notice issues with the way that its equipment was designed in campaign, and it's like vehemently opposed to how it is in multiplayer. Because in multiplayer, they like besides the lack of like neutral equipment, the way the actual equipment was integrated into the multiplayer was perfect. They did it perfectly. Finite uses, scavenged, and yet in campaign, they're just glorified Spartan abilities. They are literally just Spartan abilities. Like there's no
Mm,
difference. The Spartan abilities with very, very, very light RPG mechanics that if they weren't there, you probably wouldn't notice. Like they should be designed like equipment in both multiplayer and campaign, and not like Spartan abilities. Because ironically, that was the only downside I had to them in the campaign. Like if they weren't designed like Spartan abilities and were designed like equipment, I probably wouldn't have an issue with any of them. But because like you just inherently have all of them, and you have an infinite usage, there's never any point where the game tells you to like slow down with them and like just calm down. The game never encourages that. It almost encourages the opposite, just spamming all of them in like almost like a fighting game combo chain, right? Like you want to throw your drop shield down, then you want to thrust to the side, then you want to grapple slide through it, and then thrust back. It's like I think it should be a lot less of that and a lot more scavenging like they have it in multiplayer.
exactly. Real quick before I lose this comment, I just want to make sure I don't lose it here. First of all, I meant to say Chris Clicks, not Kick. Sorry about that. Mobster Matt, what's up, man? Keep producing content. I appreciate all your retweets and comments, and I've seen your stuff, so keep it going. Again, his name is Mobster Matt. And then we got someone else. Oh, Unseen Halo. You might know him, Corbin. He
Oh
says live stream upgrade. That was only because Mint Blitz, no offensive man, he couldn't do the
yeah.
mobile app. He couldn't use the mobile streaming. This is what it was supposed to be. Yeah,
It's
sorry.
all Remy's fault. It's
Yeah,
100% Remy's fault.
I blame Remy for that. So sorry about that. But it's all good. We had a nice discussion. Dr. Phil says, I think this was towards me. Oh God, it's the guy that sucks off Halo. No, I don't. I support Halo in every way. I support it and then talk about the negatives too. So just a little clarification there, Dr. Phil. Thanks, but thanks for joining, Phil. And then we got uh, lastly, no, sorry, Lord Shimmy says yes. Finite equipment, but have either a skull or game plus for infinite equipment cooldown. So
I agree.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Rogue85 says prefer Halo cinematic style campaigns over Infinite. Infinite felt kind of repetitive to me. We're going to get into a little more of the discussion about our ideas with that, so stay tuned. And then there's also one more thing. Where was it? Sam said, where are you? 1 second. He had a question if I had like a rough draft regarding. Oh yeah. Do you either of you have a rough draft of what you would like a campaign to do and what things would happen? So basically, we're getting into that. We kind of explained what he would like to see with Halo 7, more of a linear style approach to things, rather than the whole open world style with Infinite. More diversity in the the level environments, because of the biomes being cut out, and we're stuck with just one type of environment throughout Infinite's campaign, and we will continue to get into that. So with that said, let's get into the next question here. um, do you think the switch, so if this does happen with Unreal Engine, I'm almost positive based on the evidence, but of course we
Yeah.
don't know for sure, but do you think the switch to Unreal Engine 5 will improve Halo's campaign experience for Halo 7?
Honestly, like, well, okay, so whenever I talk about engine stuff, I have to preface what I say with the fact that I know absolutely nothing about the way that game engines work. Like, genuinely, all I know is that in the Java engine, the max number is like 2147 or something because of RuneScape. That's literally all I can say about game engines, to be honest with you.
I love RuneScape. Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's what I like to hear. But if I had to give like a full-on layman's view, I would say probably because the whole thing with Infinite was that because of the way they designed the campaign, they had to like fully overhaul the engine that they'd already overhauled for Halo 5 to make it work. And even then, it's hard to describe this without sounding like really subjective, but I feel like at least I feel when I play Infinite, the game feels like it's trying to pull itself apart. Like the game does not the game does not feel. If you can play Halo 3, it's so hard to describe, but everything feels kind of cohesive and smooth, and like every element of the game is like flowing naturally with each other. Whereas Infinite feels rough, not in like it's indescribable. I don't know what the word is. You can tell that they really had to put a lot of work into the engine to change a lot of the fundamentals of the engine to make an open world possible and to make a game like Infinite even remotely viable on what is relatively still the Blam engine, right? Like they had to do a lot of stuff for that. Whereas with Unreal, you've got an engine that is already good to go with a lot of that. Like there's already been countless games made in UE whatever. UE is it UE5 now? Yeah, UE5
Yes.
with the open world that are linear, that are everything under the sun, right? I mean, Unreal is essentially, besides maybe Unity, the biggest engine in the world by a long shot. I also think as well one of the benefits of going to Unreal is that you're going to have devs that are coming into 343 that have already spent years working with the engine and its tools, and like that know what to do straight away. They're good to go. They know how to work it. They know how to do X, Y, and Z in the engine. Whereas with Blam, you've got an engine that is used only for Halo, and if you want to get pedantic, Stubbs the Zombie and Shadowrun as well, but Halo only, right? So they have to spend ages learning the tools, which obviously impacts development time. So I think it will be a good change, for sure. I think people that say like, "Oh, it won't feel like Halo," I disagree with that personally, because there are fan games that are in other engines like Unity or Unreal or God knows what that feel more like Halo than like Halo 5 did, to be quite honest with you. So I don't think the Halo feel is inherently a Blam engine thing. People always say as well, like, what's the physics engine called that Halo's used since like 2000? Havoc physics.
Yes.
People always say like Havoc, that's the reason why. Well, Havoc is a plugin. It's not built for Halo. It's a plugin that works with countless engines, and I'm assuming it works with Unreal as well. I mean, I've seen the amount of games that I boot up and I see the Havoc splash or logo on the splash screen at the start. It's like like that. The Halo feel can definitely be replicated. that's not my issue. I don't really have any issue with going to Unreal, to be honest with you. I guess the only thing is like they made a big deal about slip space for Infinite and they're ditching it already. But like, I don't really. There's no point laying into a sunk cost fallacy and developing another game on an engine that is falling apart at the seams. I just think moving to Unreal is from a layman's perspective at least the better choice. But I guess time will tell on that one because who knows?
Yeah, it really is a tough one, especially as like you, I really don't know a whole lot in regards to how the whole development engine. You sound like you actually know a little more than me, actually, but just because, kind of going back to what you said, just because of how many people have experience working with the tool. I'm talking about Unreal Engine here, because they can find so many more people who have experience, and also with they had the coalition, as I brought up before. They helped develop Halo Infinite. They have their external studios, or sorry, external team that helps other Xbox studios learn how to use Unreal Engine 5, how to incorporate it, and develop their games with it. So, with that in mind, I think that they can pull it off. I think that they can replicate. Yeah, like you said, I don't think there won't be a huge issue with replicating the Halo feeling. It's just it might really come down to how people feel about the visuals. For the most part, it's going to be a big shock. I think for me, it kind of makes me think about with Halo 4. um, so we went, I was so used to Halo 3, Halo Reach, and then they developed or hit us with Halo 4, and like the background environments, the whole visuals, everything changed so drastically. And I think with Unreal Engine, we're going to get, at least for myself, we're going to get a bit of that shock factor. But as long as the feeling can actually be replicated, which is what we're predicting, I don't think there's going to be an issue. And I think they can make a stunning looking Halo game with Unreal Engine. I think they can do it,
Yeah.
and I think it will look great. So I have a lot of high hopes for it personally. Um, and especially if all the rumors about slip space, all the problems currently that they might have with Faber, which is why they might not be developing maps anymore in Faber, why it's all going to Forge. If they're having all these internal problems with their in-house engines, then maybe it is time for the engine switch, and maybe Unreal, because of its popularity, because of the capabilities, all the experience that other developers have. I think it might be a good move, but we'll see. Plenty of time for that. We still have to wait for a confirmation, of course. Um,
Yes.
so that's the biggest thing. Now, real quick, let me just look at a few comments here. Elite Falcon, one of the creators of Survive the Undead, is here. Did you play that a lot,
Oh
or
yeah,
have
I've played it quite a lot. Yeah, in
yeah?
fact, it's like
So
the only thing that I've played on Infinite for the past like 2 weeks.
I had a feeling you would say that based on your interest in zombies. But yeah, they did a phenomenal job with that. They allowed me to do a little overview before it released. And when I was recording the video or getting my first taste of it, or one of my earlier tastes of the mode, I was just trying to look around at the map. He was trying to show me everything, but those zombies come at you fast. By a few rounds in, and I was just getting annihilated. He had to carry me the whole time. So shout out to Elite Falcon for carrying me through that. But turned out great. Turned out to be a great mode. So congratulations on all the success with that as well.
I think real quick, I think I said it
Yeah.
to Lee Falcon already, but it's quite funny how the most zombies feeding zombie mode in like 7 years is in Halo Infinite and not in a Call of Duty game. It's quite a joke.
Yeah, right. I don't know. There's a lot of issues we can discuss, man, that should be in Halo and this thing and etc. But yeah, so good to have you here, Lee Falcon. And then let's look at another comment real quick. Halo can feel like Halo in Unreal 5. This is from Banana Wings. Halo can feel like Halo in Unreal 5 if the devs put the care into making it feel like that. All the physics nuances and such can be recreated with the time and care. That's only if they choose to. And again, I think you're just getting at the whole, issues that they are the struggles they've had with, especially with Halo Infinite. I think again, if they find, especially with these new job listings, if they find the right employees, if leadership is actually doing what they're supposed to be, we saw some improvements with seasons 3 to 5 with Pierre. So I think they have a good leader, but I don't know for sure. And if they receive support from a lot of other support studios like the Coalition, I think they'll be in good hands with that. And then what's it called? Elite Falcon says there is a literal web page called Havoc Physics for Unreal. We're good boys.
There you
So
go.
I think, yeah, he has a good point. So Unseen says that's so true. They should get Havoc or something just like it for physics. Yep. And then maybe one more here. Sam says, here is the real question: is Halo 7 going back to live service? I feel like everything's live service nowadays, but yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as it hurts my heart to say this, I will be flabbergasted if it's not a live service game. Although, granted, Halo 7 is probably a ways away, and fingers crossed there's a massive shift in the industry before then, but somehow I doubt it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be. Um, and Skull King, that's my favorite emblem, by the way. The Skull King emblem, just FYI. He says, let's just hope 343 gets the progression system right this time. That's a whole nother issue. What do you real quick, what do you think about the progression system and that whole issue? Or how do you
Uh, I don't think it's great. I think we waited. How long was it? 2 years for a progression system. We waited. Was it 2 years? Maybe
something
just
like
a bit under
that
2 years.
around
And
there?
it came with two unlocks. No, one unlock. And no, I don't count emblems as unlocks. I'm sorry, I don't count that as an unlock. I count armor pieces as armor pieces and armor effects and actual tangible cosmetics as unlocks. And it came with one unlock that wasn't even in the progression system at launch, which is like, I don't know. That is a whole different kettle of fish. But Infinite's
Yeah.
progression system, the ranks were decent. I still vastly prefer Halo 3s and Halo Reaches, to be quite honest with you, but they were much better than Halo 4s and Halo 5s. But the whole thing with the progression system is that you progress through rewards, right? There's a reason to progress. Of course, like the number going up is a big deal, and that is the main thing. But you also want actual rewards for progressing. And the whole thing about getting emblems as rewards, I find it like hilarious because the emblem that you get is for a rank that is lower than you are. So like if you get like the general rank and then to unlock that emblem, you have to go through the general rank. So like theoretically, if you want to use the emblem, you're wearing an emblem that's lower rank than what you are. Why would you want to wear that? It's like I don't understand. And then there's also just no armor besides the chief armor at hero, which is cool. Like I like that. Having chief armor at hero is really cool. But having nothing else in it, I mean, it was to be expected given that the game is just like well, it's a Microsoft Live service, so it kind of says what you need to know. But I think it was not exactly great, to put it lightly.
Yeah, me neither. It's a shame, there clearly were issues way before it released that led into many things being delayed, and so on. But, yeah, hopefully, again, I think things will improve. I think, uh, if anyone's aware, it's 343 that they can't mess up again. I think it might be the last straw if they were to, maybe. But I think they're learning from their mistakes. That's the hope, and they're having the support system to help implement all the main features for release, such as a progression system, because that's just that can't be that's not acceptable for a Halo game to not release with certain features.
No.
Halo needs to be respected much more than that. So we'll leave it at that. But there's two more questions I have here. I believe two more. So the next one is a statement from Frank O'Connor in 2017. He said, the volume, what do you say? Hold on one second. Frank, basically, the volume of feedback from Halo fans about Master Chief at the end of Halo 5 was significant. And so I think, if anything, Master Chief slightly more important now. Again, this is back in 2017 than he has ever been, certainly to our franchise. Instead of focusing on bringing new characters into the world and expanding the playable characters, we've sort of shifted the focus a little bit to making the world a little bit more realistic and compelling and more fun for players who get to inhabit the Chief in the future. Doubling down on Master Chief's story and the amount of focus on him was probably the easiest learning from Halo 5. So basically, do you think this was the right decision to focus on just doing a story controlling and about Master Chief instead of expanding with the universe with more playable characters? And should they do the same for Halo 7 to finish Master Chief's story from Infinite?
I think that was a massive misdiagnosis of Halo 5's problems, personally. I didn't like how little we played as Chief in Halo 5, but the idea that means we should go fully back to playing as Chief and only Chief, I think that was the wrong move to make. Halo 5's issue was that you spent most of the game playing as a cast of characters that, despite playing as them for most of the game, you still couldn't form an attachment with them. Like, most people did not form any attachment to Osiris outside of Buck, and the only reason they had an attachment to Buck was because of ODST, not because of Halo 5. Um, so I think hard resetting back to just Chief was a massive overcorrection. I do think Halo 5 should have had more Chief in it. But if Halo 5 had committed to the story that it was originally going to tell about hunting the Chief down, I think if that was done right, you could have got away with a Halo game that didn't even have Chief in it. I think Halo 5 could have been a great campaign without even having Chief be in it. If you played as Osiris the entire time, hunting Chief down, like following clues, but Osiris were actually like well written and fleshed out and interesting and were conducive to creating an attachment with them, then there wouldn't have been a problem. But
Mhm.
regardless, going into Infinite, although I did enjoy Infinite's campaign, again, going back to the replay that I did recently, it did feel super insular, and like very, very narrow. Which I think for one, see, and this is the problem. My issues with Halo storytelling nowadays are only issues because we get so few campaigns. If we were getting a new campaign every 3 years, I wouldn't have this issue at all, because I'd be like, well, okay, 3 years time we'll get one with the Arbiter and with Atriox in again and Johnson. I wish, right? uh, Lord Hood, you know what I mean? Like, but because Infinite or because Halo campaigns now only come along every blue moon, quite literally every blue moon, when we get one that isn't exactly what we want, it's even more painful because we have to wait so long for another campaign that might do that or it might not do that. You know, like we're going to be waiting. In terms of Halo 7, I don't think the next game is going to be Halo 7. Personally, I don't think Halo 7 is coming out for, I would say, 2 years maybe. I think 26 will be Halo 7 personally. Which means that there's going to be another 5 years in between campaigns where we're left waiting, thinking like, well, I wish this game had gone in this direction, but we've got to wait almost twice as long to see if the next game will go in the direction we want to go. So, sorry, that's a bit tangenty. To go back to the original thing, do I think that was the right idea? I think it wasn't the right idea. I think it was the right idea to have more Chief in the campaign, but I don't think that meant that Infinite should have just been Chief and only Chief. I still think that Arbiter should have been in the game. Absolutely. Like, I still firmly believe that the elites should be as prevalent as Marines in modern Halo games, at least in the main story. I think that was a huge selling point of like Halo 2 and Halo 3, Halo 3 in particular, the fact that we weren't just like a human military anymore. We were a human and elite alliance, and that had so much flair to it that it is begging to be fleshed out in a story. And yeah, it's been fleshed out in the books, but like, as much as I love the books, the game's more important. Flat out, the game's the most important thing for Halo. I will never ever change my mind on that. The books are there and the games are there. Like, as much as I love them. So the
Mhm.
games need to do that more. And Infinite did not do that. In fact, it did the complete opposite of that. It receded in that aspect. And I'm someone that doesn't want Halo to be this. I don't want Halo to be this like insane galaxy sprawling story, because actually I think that was one of the downsides of Halo 5. I think Halo 5, its story stretched itself too thin. You were never in one location long enough to enjoy it. You were stretched very thin across Kamchatka, across Genesis, across St. Helios, across uh, that human Meridian, like all these places. I think Halo should be. I think Halo 3 in that aspect honestly nailed it really well. And actually, Halo 2 as well. I mean, Halo 2, you're on the gas mine, you were on Earth, you were on Cairo Station. Maybe this is my bias speaking, but I feel like those locations were fleshed out a lot more in
Mhm.
Halo 2 than they were in Halo 5, for example. So I think Halo is a story is a game where its stories are best told in like a couple fleshed out locations as opposed to spread out thin across God knows how many locations or told in only one hyper specific location. Of course, spin-offs are completely different. Any rule that I have for a main game, I don't have that rule for a spin-off because spin-offs should be are for experimentation. Spin-offs are where they should be trying new things. They should be trying these galaxy-spanning games or these very insular games like ODST, for example. But I think for main games, you need to focus on more than the chief. The arbiter and the elite should absolutely be prevalent. ODSTs, I can't believe I have to say this. ODSTs have not been in a game since 2010. 2010.
That's
Why?
true.
Why have they not been in a game for 14 years? First person game. Like, I think Q43's issue with all of their games has been such a ridiculously narrow focus on Spartans. Everything is Spartans. Spartan points, Spartan credits, Spartan story, Spartan game, Master Chief story. Like, everything is just Spartan, Spartan, Spartan. And that dumbs Halo down to a point where it's like, it loses so much of its unique factors, right? Like, Halo is not a Spartan game. Like, Halo was a Spartan game in Halo. Even in Halo 1, it wasn't really a Spartan game. It was a Spartan and a Marine game, right? Like, Halo's never been just a Spartan game. But since 343 took over, it has been. And that strips so much of the so many of the unique factors from Halo that make it shine and that made it so unique in the first place. So focusing just on Chief, I think, just exacerbated that issue that was already there after Halo 5. And yeah, I hope the next game is not a Spartan story. I hope to be honest with you, I would actually be super down for the next game if it was a spin-off to not even have Spartans in it. I would
Mm.
be super down for that. Just like do a Marine game, do an Elite game, do
Mhm.
something that like, or maybe has like one Spartan that shows up like a mythical god for like 10 seconds and then just vanishes, right? Like treat the Spartans like they were treated, ironically, in the books where they are these mythical entities that rarely show up. Like I feel like because in every Halo game you played as a Spartan, it's kind of given people a false perception of how common they are and how frequent people see them. Like there's that one cutscene in Halo 3 um when you get to Crow's Nest, and there's that Marine that's got like he's been blinded in war, and he's sat with his friend, and the Marine friend goes, "Hey, it's a Mark 6," and it's like a big deal that there's a Spartan there, right? Like that's how I think the game should treat it more, but they just don't anymore. But that's a long-winded answer. So, long story short, the next game should focus on more than just Chief.
Yeah. So my take on it, I agree with many of your points there. So basically, it's I think personally it's fine to have a game something like Infinite and the older games where you're only controlling Chief, you're connecting with them. That's fine, only if you are also releasing spin-offs that introduce
Right.
more characters, that introduce more of the Halo universe. Because when you only focus on Master Chief, despite he's one of the greatest video game characters of all time, there's many reasons why to that. At least I believe so. But when you limit yourself to just Master Chief or a game around him, you're limiting this franchise. You're limiting how you can expand it to and bring in all these cool elements that are in the Halo universe that so many people don't know about because you have to learn about it through books or Halo, the wikis, or all that sort of stuff. So yes, so I think if they are going to if they want to continue Master Chief's story and have a game that just focuses on controlling and on him, then we need to see a spin-off shortly after or before that
Yep.
to get our excitement back to introduce more elements from the franchise. So that's where I'm at on there. So let's real quick look at the comments, see if anyone said anything about that before we talk about our last topic. Elite Falcon says, "Don't worry, we got the Certain Affinity spin-off game at the Xbox Game Showcase shortly, right, guys? We're gonna. That's what we're talking about as our final discussion, the Xbox Game Showcase. So we'll get right into that in a second. Aram, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, says we're probably closer to Gear 6 than Halo 7. Hell yes, because I think Gear 6 is almost like guaranteed to be showed at the Xbox Game Showcase based on all the leaks. I would be very shocked if we don't see a Gears of War 6 reveal. So I think we're much closer to that for sure. Um, Captain says we'll get the ending of One Piece before Halo 7. He might be right. um, and then, hold on. There's another question I saw down here. Um, Banana Wing says, "Do you think 343 will stick with the endless or go down a completely different route again for the next game? If so, what do you think of the end?" We didn't comment on the endless. I don't. All right, maybe you did. If you did, sorry, but
I didn't.
so I guess we kind of talked about how we thought the route would be, what route they would take for the next game. Basically, what we said was maybe not more of a linear approach. Long story short, now real quick, Hidden. What's your view on the endless, and are you hoping for that story to be revealed, completed, etc.?
Yeah, I do really hope it gets continued and completed. The endless as it stand right now, I'm very like up and down on, honestly, because there's a way that they could do the endless that I would absolutely adore. I've made a video about this already, but the long and short of it is there are a lot of references and hints at the endless being precursor or being kind of like a subspecies of precursor. Uh, and if that was the way they took them, then I think it would be fantastic, and it'd be something that I wanted Halo to do for years. But there's also another direction they could take them in that I feel I kind of worried they'll do, where it's just like they aren't connected to the precursors, they aren't connected to the flood, they are just some random species that happen to survive the halos that we never encountered before out of pure luck, and they just happen to be more powerful than the flood. Like if they went that way, I'm not gonna lie, I'd hate it because it would just seem so fake and forced. But if they went in the direction of the endless being a subspecies of the precursors, you're almost like these precursor supremacists that believe that none of their creations should have inherited the mantle, that only the precursor should hold the mantle, then that would be so sick, because that would literally be like the precursor's final test, which, without going full lore nerd, is basically like this massive thing that was hinted years ago in the books that I've talked about for like the better part of a decade now in videos. That would be that in game form, which would be really cool. So if they went that way, I'd absolutely love it. If they didn't, then I'd probably kind of hate it unless it was written like immaculately. Although one of the main reasons I want them to come back is purely so we can get offensive bias, because that legendary ending still to this day, 3 years on, gives me chills hearing that. Like hearing offensive bias has been deployed after literally 7 or 8 years of making videos about Mendicant bias and offensive bias and the importance of like that era of the galaxy and how it could play into the future. When I first heard that, funny story, right? So when we got the game early, when we got the preview copies of the game, I believe I was the first person to beat the game on Legendary outside of P43. Like I fully grinded it. The first day it
Wow.
was normal, and then like that night I just started Legendary. So I was like, I want to get that Legendary ending. I want to see what it is, and I will never remember. I would never forget rather my absolutely sincere reaction to hearing that for the first time, because it felt like years of like hopes and theorization and expectation just like coming true, and to get blue balls at the last minute and not have any campaign DLC that continues it was painful. So I really hope that whatever comes next, if it does, I think it will continue the endless. Personally, I mean, third time's the charm, right? But I do think this time they will continue the story on. I don't think they'll ditch Infinite Story. I think the endless were received mostly well, I would say, which is quite surprising given how little presence they had in the game at all. Like we still know. I tried to make a video a few minutes ago talking about them, and it was like 3 minutes long because there is nothing about them. There is just nothing.
Right.
So given how little we know about them, I would say they were received like maybe 65% positively, I would say, which say we know nothing about them is pretty good. So I think they will continue them personally, and I just hope that that comes with offensive bias being an ally, because that would like Christ Almighty, that would make my how long now 13-year-old since 2011. So yeah, 13-year long dreams coming true.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I hope for the best for you in regards to getting that sooner than later. And I'm really intrigued by the
Cheers.
endless. Yeah. Cheers to that. Cheers to that. And I really am intrigued by them. Just even on that little amount of info, it's just that legendary ending with Infinite got me all hyped and like nervous. Even like, what the hell are they? What's gonna like? How do they compared to the flood? How dangerous? How crazy? Etc. So I'm really intrigued, and yeah, I really think they will eventually continue the story, finish the story with Master Chief and the Endless, and I really hope so at least. Now, with that said, we're gonna wrap this live stream up with one more topic, which is the Xbox Games Showcase. Now, I'm gonna read you. I tweeted yesterday what I hope to see, everything I could think of that I personally, at least, and most of this I think will actually be shown. But real quick, so what I said was, where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I said what I hope to see at the Xbox Games Showcase, the Elder Scrolls 6 teaser. I said teaser because not well, I know we already got a teaser, but just to be a little, more realistic with my expectations because I know it's a bit a way out. They did make a statement saying that they were already play testing some early builds, so I think they're in a state where they could do another teaser at least. Then I said Gears of War 6 trailer. All the leaks are pointing to a big Gears of War 6 reveal. Then I said a Halo appearance. We're gonna get right back to that. Now that's just me being wishful thinking, but we'll get into that in a second. Then I said Fable gameplay. Everyone's been waiting for actual gameplay for Fable. I think they're ready to show it maybe. And then Starfield Shattered Space trailer. I'm sure they'll show that. I would be very shocked if they didn't. There's rumors about the Xbox handheld system being announced. I think that will be there based on the rumors. Maybe plans for World of Warcraft going to Xbox. The developers, Blizzard, stated they want to do it, but we're waiting on Xbox to make it official. So that could happen. Then lastly, there's rumors for a first party shadow drop. So getting a game released on the day of the showcase. They're saying maybe Towerborn or something like that. So that's my prediction. What do you think will be shown? And what about Halo?
I think okay, we'll come to Halo last. I think Gears 6 is an absolute given. I'm also really hoping to do the Gears collection as well, the Marcus Phoenix collection or whatever it's rumored to be called. I mean, that thing has been rumored for like 3 or 4 years now. I think Jez Corden even mentioned it ages ago. I'm pretty sure that thing exists, and I think it will happen. Because to play the old Gears games, you literally can only do it on backwards compat now. There's no other way of doing it. There's the Ultimate Edition for Gears 1, but Gears 2 and 3 are just like trapped in backwards compatibility now. So yeah, Gears collection, I would say like 90% chance. Gears 6, 100% unequivocal. That's getting announced. No shadow of a doubt there. I mean, it's been 5 years since Gears 5. Like, it's a long time. So it's definitely going to be announced. I would even say releasing this year, personally. I think that'll come out in October, September. As for Elder Scrolls 6, I would like to think we get something, but something tells me we won't. I think the one thing we can surefire bet we won't be getting is Anything Perfect Dark. I swear to God, that game does not exist anymore. Like, they made, you know what? I knew that game was in trouble when they said they had a Quad A developer on. I was like, Christ's sake, don't say that, Ted. Don't call it Quad A. And never end as well. What else is there? I think. Okay, let's talk about Halo. Let's touch on Halo.
Sure.
I don't think we'll get anything personally. I think if we're going to get anything for Halo this year, we'll get whatever the next game is teased at the Game Awards this year. I don't think we're getting anything for Halo at this show though. I think the absolute most we might get is that that trailer. What's it called? That trailer that they randomly dropped a few weeks ago. Someone found it on Steam, and then it was almost like 343 didn't mean to release it, but they were like, "Oh, someone's found it. We may as well release it." Like, I think that will probably get played. And I don't know what else. I don't think anything else. I think if I had to be super, super like on the edge, maybe something to do with certain Affinity's game. But I just don't. I don't know. Call me a doomer, but I don't think anything's getting announced right now. I think next year is 100% chance. I honestly even think the Game Awards this year is a high 85% chance. But for the show, nah, I don't think we're getting anything. At the most, we're getting that infant trailer, and that's it.
So yeah, you covered all the points that all the possibilities really that I was going to bring up. The only other thing that I don't think you mentioned was Xbox's plan to release more games onto PlayStation, and
Yes, yeah.
so they could talk more about what games they're thinking about. Now, I've been thinking a lot. What would make more sense? Halo Infinite or Halo Master Chief Collection to go to PlayStation, right? And if my thinking was, Halo Infinite's the sixth or whatever number game. There's been so many stories before that. The Master Chief Collection allows you to experience all the stories from Combat Evolved to 5. so if they've and they said that they want to release games that are at least 2 years old. Both are. So anyway, I think it maybe might make more sense to release the Master Chief Collection to if they want PlayStation fans to actually experience Halo. That gives them all the stories except for Infinite. That could influence them to then download Infinite, try that, play the campaign, buy the campaign, then play the multiplayer maybe, and then once then that prepares them for other games in the future. So, real quick before I explain what I think might be shown, do you think Halo will go to PlayStation, and which game would make more sense?
I think at some point it will do. I don't think it will do yet. I think maybe a couple of years down the line. I think Halo is going to be one of the last, if not the last, Microsoft IP to go to PlayStation. Quite honestly, because people like to say that Microsoft don't value Halo anymore, and they definitely have other things that they value a lot, but they do still value Halo because, for better or worse, whether they like it or not, the Master Chief is and forever will be the mascot of Xbox. Like they cannot do anything. Like Captain Price is not the mascot of Xbox. Like even Marcus Phoenix isn't. Doom Guy is not. Like none of these characters are. Master Chief is objectively the mascot of Xbox. Like Kratos is the mascot nowadays of PlayStation, and Mario is for Nintendo, right? So I don't think that they devalue Xbox Halo now. That said, though, I do think it's going to be a while before we see that. I think eventually we will get a Halo on PlayStation. As for which game, uh, say it happens before the next game comes out, so it's between either MC or Infinite. I'm kind of torn because on the one hand, it makes more sense if you want to just win fans over. It makes more sense to do MCC first because A, there's more games in it, and B, you get to play the whole lot from the get go, right? You get to play all the ones that are universally loved and a few others from the get go. So it's a great way to onboard PlayStation fans into Halo. However, MCC is not monetized. Infinite is heavily, heavily, heavily monetized, and they're gonna wanna make some money back on that. So I'm kind of half and half. On the one hand, I can see why they do MCC, but I can also see from a business perspective why they do Infinite, because that's a whole new demographic being opened up to that game's absurdly overpriced microtransactions that they would buy. I assume. So I honestly don't know. Which one do you think? What do you think go first, MCC or Infinite?
Oh boy. I mean, again, I think it's in regards to what makes more sense, maybe MCC. But because of the potential money that they can make with over MCC through the heavy monetization through the store and so on. Maybe it would make sense for them in financial regards to release Infinite. That's a tough one. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I yeah, I just been thinking it would make more sense for MCC, but I can see why they would choose Infinite because the multiplayer is free, but then they can buy the campaign and then they can purchase things from the store, etc. So yeah, it's a 50-50 for me, man. I'm really torn between them. But if they even bring it to PlayStation. But also going back to what would be shown at the showcase. Yeah, like you're saying, I don't the chances of Halo being shown are slim, especially because it seems like the production stages for the next game are just beginning. Now they could so since they decided to switch to Slipspace Engine, and they did a teaser trailer for Slipspace. What if they switched to Unreal Engine and did a teaser for what they're doing in Unreal Engine, right?
That I hadn't actually thought of. That is quite a good point. I hadn't thought
Right.
about
So I actually didn't either until a minute ago. So I'm in the same boat as you. Yeah. So that's if anything, that's the biggest possibility that could be shown. I think, besides from the Halo Infinite extended multiplayer trailer that was randomly uploaded a month ago or about a month ago.
that.
And yeah, because I don't think the certain. So certain is going back to the certain affinity game. Either it's a whole new game, separate standalone game, or is whatever they're creating, the mode they're creating, that battle royale thing, is being saved for the next game. Now, if it's a separate game, then maybe yes, that another possibility is seeing a trailer for certain affinities thing. But if it's being saved for Halo 7, whatever it's called, then I don't think we'll see that because Halo 7's so far gone. So again, I think a Halo 7 engine teaser trailer like Slipspace is possible, but And next year, very likely, we will see Halo at the Xbox Game Showcase, especially if it's not shown this year.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at on that. Are there any last comments about the Xbox Game Showcase or that you have to share?
I would just say to everyone to temper your expectations. Please do not go into the show expecting to be shown anything and then getting mad when you don't get shown anything. Like, we should, like, in a perfect world, Halo should not be where it is right now. Halo should be getting a lot more. We should be getting stuff shown off every year, but we're not in that perfect world, unfortunately. I wish we were, but we're not. So just don't go into this show expecting anything, because there's a high chance you're going to be disappointed. And if you're disappointed, well, nobody wants to be disappointed. So I would just temper your expectations. If we get anything, then like, if you the way I okay, so the way I look at life, let's not to go philosophical or anything, right? But the way I look at life is I look at things. I look at things mostly in a glass, from like a glass half empty kind of perspective, which means that if things go badly, I'm like, well, I expected it. If things go well, it feels even better because I didn't expect it. And that's how I'm looking at this, right? Like, I'm expecting nothing. And if we get nothing, I'm like, well, yeah, it sucks, but I expected this. If we get something, then I'm like, okay, now we're talking. I'm pleasantly surprised, right? So I would advise everyone to, at least for the game showcase, maybe not for life in general, but for the showcase, maybe go in not expecting much, if anything at all. And if we do get anything, you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised.
Yes, and hopefully we do because, of course, the Halo community really needs a boost of positivity, energy. The fans aren't going anywhere. We're all just waiting for content, and when they show something, the amount of views, attention is going to be huge. It's going to be crazy.
The thing that we need right now, the thing that Halo fans need right now, is not. I don't think anything specific. They don't need gameplay for the next game, or and they just need something to look forward to beyond Infinite. Because right now, like, we know they're working on, what is it, multiple projects. We know that, but like, that is such a vague term. It's good confirmation, and I'm happy they said it. Very happy they said it. And honestly, I did not expect them to say it, but I'm happy they did say it. But there needs to be something for fans to look forward to talk about, to theorize about, to speculate about, to create conversations about, that maybe is like a year or two away, right? But something for people to look to beyond Infinite and know that Infinite is not all we're getting for the foreseeable. Because I think that right now is what's causing a lot of people's kind of pessimistic doom and mindsets. Because right now, the only thing we can look towards in the future is a game that is getting barely any support, that has not had a single new vehicle added, that has had a new weapon, the DMR added. Like, it's a game that has not done what it promised, basically.
Right.
And we need something beyond that to look forward to be hopeful for, to theorize and speculate about, and to just talk about, because there's nothing really to talk about right now with Halo. Like,
Yeah.
wow, a new Infinite update that added some shop items. Yay. Like, that's not a topic of conversation. We need something tangible, right? Something we can actually speak about for more than 10 seconds. So yeah, I hope that in the next, like, I don't know, 6 months or whatever, they do give us some information, as vague as it is, about what is coming, so there's something to look forward to in the future, so we're not all dwelling on Infinite anymore. Because the
Yep.
longer we dwell on Infinite, with how it is right now, unless some miracle happens and they stop doing seasons again, which isn't happening, then it's not going to be great.
No. Yeah. Yeah. So many. Forge is great. The forgers are very impressive, talented. They can create maps. Some of which I've seen that really do look almost identical to developer maps. But again, we can only keep getting so many certain amount of Forge content before we're like, what the hell? We need like, seriously, where's the developer stuff? Every game deserves it. I know they built Forge for to rely on the community to create some more content. But again, it's just Halo's Halo. It deserves the content it deserves. So anyway, let's hope for the best for the game showcase. And even if we don't see it, let's just hope we hear something in the near future. And that's why I was talking to you before the live stream. That's why I'm doing my series with the Halo 7 development update series, because I want to, provide. It doesn't reveal a whole lot, but it does give a little glimpse at what's going on. Provides a little hope, a little excitement, and I'm just waiting for that nice juicy piece of info to share with everyone. And I'm sure everyone will hear about before my video, but let's hope for the best. And lastly, and most importantly, thank you so much, man, HiddenXperia, for joining me. We had a incredible conversation, I think, about Halo 7's the possibilities for Halo 7, specifically the campaign. Thank you so much. You shared a lot of great knowledge about Halo and also your opinions and thoughts. So yeah, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, dude. I appreciate it. That was fun.
Yep.
We should do it again.
Heck yeah. And stay tuned, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. I see you again, Elite Falcon, and everyone else for joining. Really appreciate it. I'm going to try to do these maybe once a week or so on. I'm going to think of more topics, especially once I get more information. I'll bring people back, like Hidden Experia, to talk more about the campaign once we actually have some concrete information to discuss. And instead of just keep people, on their tippy toes with speculation. So, anywho, peace, Corbin, and peace, everyone. It's been real. All right, guys.